In this video, we are going to study about the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is a tubular cord-like structure which is enveloped by the glistening amniotic membrane. At full term, one end of the cord is attached approximately to the center of the anterior abdominal wall of the fetus, and the other end is fixed to the center of the fetal surface of the placenta. So when you see the basic framework of the umbilical cord, it is formed by the primary mesoderm of the connecting stalk, which is attached to the caudal end of the flattened germ disc containing the allantoenteric diverticulum and the umbilical blood vessels. When you see the measurement, the length at the full term it is about 50 centimeter and the breadth at full term it is about 2 centimeter. Sometimes the cord is unusually long and may encircle the neck of the fetus, producing strangulation, or may prolapse into the cervical canal. Too short a cord may create difficulty in parturition by pulling the placenta. Next we'll see the characteristics of the umbilical cord. The cord is twisted, presenting false knots, and the twisting may be due to unequal growth of the umbilical vessels or result from the movement of the fetus. Next we'll see the formation when the amnio-ectodermal junction of the germ disc bends ventrally during the formation of the embryonic fold. The amniotic cavity enlarges at the expense of the extraembryonic coelom and the yolk sac. Now, the yolk sac is divided into intraembryonic and extraembryonic parts by the advancing edges of the folds. The amnio-ectodermal junction converges on the ventral surface of the fetus as the primitive umbilical ring, where the connecting stalk meanwhile appears from the caudal end of the germ disc, and the connecting stalk is now surrounded by the tubular sleeve of the amnion and it is converted into the umbilical cord. Next we'll see the contents of the umbilical cord. So you have two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein. The arteries are two in number and they are derived from the ventral division of the internal iliac artery, and they convey the deoxygenated blood from the fetus to the chorionic villi of the placenta. The umbilical arteries are spirally arranged and they present a thick muscular wall. In the early part of the pregnancy, the umbilical veins are two in number. Later, the right umbilical vein disappears and the left one persists to convey the oxygenated blood from the placenta to the fetus, where it joins the left branch of the portal vein at the porta hepatis. At birth, or even before the umbilical cord is ligated, the circulation of the blood through the umbilical artery is stopped first by the reflex spasm of the muscular wall of the vessel. This is followed by the cessation of the blood flow through the umbilical vein. This performance shows that the fetus is not permitted to waste any blood from its body as soon as it is born, but it can receive more amount of blood from the placenta through the umbilical vein. After birth, the distal part of each umbilical artery is obliterated and the proximal part remains as the superior vesical artery. The left umbilical vein is fibrosed and it persists as ligamentum teres hepatis. The next content of the umbilical cord is the Wharton jelly. So here you can see the Wharton jelly. The primary mesodermal cells of the connecting stalk undergo mucoid degeneration and they form Wharton's jelly, which protects the umbilical vessels. Nerves are not detected in the umbilical cord. Next, you can see the distal part of the allantoic diverticulum. The distal part of the diverticulum is fibrous to form urachus, and the proximal part incorporates with the apex of the urinary bladder. If the lumen of the diverticulum persists entirely after falling off the cord, a urinary fistula takes place at the umbilicus. So here you can see the allantois. Next you can see is the vitello-intestinal duct. It communicates the midgut with the extra embryonic part of the yolk sac, that is the umbilical vesicle. In the later part of the fetal life, the vitello-intestinal duct disappears. On rare occasion, the proximal part of the duct persists as Meckel's diverticulum, which is attached to the anti-mesenteric border of the ileum. There is a communication between the intraembryonic and the extraembryonic coelom. The coelomic cavity surrounds the vitello-intestinal duct and is contained within the fetal end of the umbilical cord up to the 10th week of the development. During this period, U-shaped loop of midgut herniates into the extraembryonic coelom, producing the physiological umbilical hernia. After 10th week, the hernia reduces and the coelomic cavity obliterates.